The Alita Battle Angel banner flies over the Oscars at the Dolby Theater with hashtag Alita sequel, hashtag Alita Army flying for all to see. The plane was seen by people all over tweeting about it and their experiences from blue checkmarks and a ton of others, including Jessica Chobot, who was picked up by a bunch of different articles covering Alita Army's attempts at getting an Alita sequel by raising awareness with this banner over the Oscars. This was a success without doubt, with John Landau on Facebook saying, "Thank you, Alita Army, for your never-ending support," and making Alita a unique part of the Oscars. Rosa Salazar herself also noticed, putting an Instagram story saying wow about Alita Army putting the plane over and tagging Rodriguez, James Cameron, and John Landau on Instagram. Finally putting a post herself saying the Oscar for Outstanding Performance by a Fan Base goes to Alita Army. You're outstanding, Rosa, and you deserve the Oscar, and thank you so much for your support. We will continue to fight for this sequel. And this campaign was super successful, with the movie jumping 119 spots in popularity to the number 30 most popular movie on IMDb. And Alita's Army kindness to the pilot really moved them, with them replying, "Something awesome like your fans did for us has never happened. We could not believe it after 11 years in the business. Every Valentine's Day, we will be reminded of your kindness." All the while, Alita Army raises over $15,000 with enough money now going to charity to provide a bionic prosthetic arm for someone in need. But not everyone supported us, with Film Clickbait on Twitter saying they paid to fly a banner over the ceremony but didn't know that the red carpet was covered due to rain. The last part isn't mentioned in the article. 2,000 likes. Well, we didn't know because you can't predict the weather months in advance. And even with that, we still got a ton of people seeing Alita, so the mission was accomplished. We don't need anyone to rain on our parade, no pun intended. And this was before other members who work for news publications, and we'll get into this in the video, try to say that the reason we're supporting Alita is for being against Captain Marvel and other movies. This is so far from the truth. We are supporting Alita, and that's it. And we have supporters all over, including Redbox, saying, "What's with everyone tweeting about Alita?" The Redbox reply is, "That's cause Alita Army is strong, but an Alita sequel would also be awesome." Adrian replies, "No sequel?" Redbox says, "You never know. Maybe the studio will pay attention if all the fans keep at it." And of course we will. We'll get you all the details on this, as well as Cinema Blend's most recent article, 7 things to keep in mind as we wait for Alita sequel news. So buckle up. This is a big one. The Doctor is in. What's up, guys? Doc Ito here with an Alita update. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you don't miss any of Doc Ito's free repairs. Sign the sequel petition on the way to 143,000 signatures. And donate at the fundraiser below if it hasn't closed already, while we buy those Blu-rays, baby, as we continue to fight for an Alita sequel with all the links below. So here's the moment that the Alita banner, the Alita sequel plane, flew over the Oscars at the Dolby Theater. And there you can see it, hashtag Alita sequel, hashtag Alita Army. I'll be going through a whole bunch of tweets showing the impact of this, but needless to say, it was picked up by a ton of people. With Comic Book, Otaku Magazine, IndieWire, Thrillist, top 18 most outrageous moments of the 2020 Oscars. Let's look at this. Rain, Ryan Johnson, and number 3, a banner plane flew a message demanding an Alita Battle Angel sequel. MovieWeb picked it up. Digital Spy, Sausage Roll, IGN Portugal, Bounding Into Comics. We got this covered. Regular IGN, I can't get the link to work, but they had an article too. Screen Rant, just to name a few. I mean, this coverage was fantastic. Such a success for all the Alita fans out there who thought exactly this is what was going to happen. We'll go through these articles in a second, but not only they noticed, but the people closest to Alita who worked on this movie did as well. With El Lamont posting on Instagram, the incredible hashtag Alita Army is flying a banner over the Oscars demanding a sequel. They raised $8,300, with the banner costing $1,810 and the rest going toward a bionic arm for someone in need. Hashtag Alita sequel, fans are everything. El Lamont, of course, being Screwhead in Alita Battle Angel. Even though we probably won't see her in a sequel, she still wants one, which is great to see. Beyond this, John Landau on Facebook, said, "Thank you, Alita Army, for your never-ending support and for making Alita Battle Angel a unique part of the Oscars." And he clicked through the Cinema Blend article about the banner flying over the Oscars. He had hundreds of likes here on Facebook, and it's great to see Alita's producer again supporting Alita Army and our efforts for a sequel. And yes, Rosa Salazar herself noticed. Wow. The Alita Army did a project to have signs with hashtags Alita Sequel and Alita Army flying above the Oscars. Rosa, you gotta see this. This was Rosa Salazar Brazil Instagram fan account. And Rosa reposted this as a story, tagging Rodriguez, James Cameron, and John Landau on her Instagram, circling Alita Sequel and saying wow. So all the way up to Alita herself, our battle angel, supporting our efforts and noticing what we did for her and for the movie in the fight for the sequel. Ultimately posting on her Instagram to her nearly 400,000 followers, the Oscar for outstanding performance by a fan base goes to hashtag Alita Army, showing the plane Alita Sequel, Alita Army, tagging Alita movie in it, and showing the plane down in California flying about. So again, congrats Alita Army, you have won an Oscar from Rosa Salazar, and honestly that matters a lot more than what the Academy gave out that Sunday night. Let's take a brief look at some of these articles. This is from Comic Book. As Hollywood crawls to a box office slump, it's harder to approve budget for sequels if they don't bring in the cash. That's why fans of Alita are rising up. They took the Oscars to demand a second movie. As you can see, they gathered funds to buy a plane that would circle the Oscars with Alita Sequel, Alita Army hashtags. And then they talk about the fundraiser, which we'll get to in a minute, raising money for Open Bionics. In a previous interview, John Landau said, "Keep peppering our family now at Disney. Let them know how important it is to have another Alita movie. Hopefully we'll venture there one day." Things like this, getting a banner and much buzz at the movie celebration at the Oscars, is very helpful in generating more interest in Alita, getting more people to watch it, and letting Disney know we want a sequel. Otaku USA Magazine's article is pretty much the same thing. IndieWire covers the story as well, saying in a move out of the Snyder Cut playbook, fans of Alita raised money for a banner at the Oscars. Taking from a blog post on Alita Army's blog, when thinking of a good cause to work with, remember the partnership with Alita and Open Bionics, and that's where the extra funds are going. The fight to get a sequel continues despite Disney owning 20th Century Fox now. And they talk about the box office performance, making $404 million on a $170 million budget, which is not bad. And then talk about Landau wanting a sequel and how this was planned from the beginning if we get enough support and the movie picks up financially. Finally finishing saying Alita is now available to stream on HBO Go. So this is exactly what we're doing here. We're raising awareness for Alita. We're getting a ton of articles for Alita. They're saying, look, go see the movie on HBO Go, stream it, rent it, so on and so forth. So Alita Army will grow and more people are going to see the movie and demand for a sequel will increase. This is the Movie Web article. They just talk about the same type of things and give a little more info about the movie. Digital Spy shares Jessica Chobot? Actually, I don't remember. Anyways, Jessica tweeted about it saying, "That is some passion for Alita. Hashtag Alita sequels, hashtag Oscars." They cut off how many likes she got, but it was quite a bit. 200 retweets, 832 likes. So having someone like Jessica, who has a ton of followers, gets a whole ton of view for this tweet, because Jessica herself has 239,000 followers, and with a tweet with about 800 likes, it should have a ton of reach. My tweet with 1,600 likes has had 135,000 impressions, so you're thinking Jessica's tweet has at least 100,000 just based on the tweet alone, even not counting her 240,000 followers. So getting a tweet like this to get picked up is awesome. So this is Jessica. She was just driving around, going to the Oscars, and she saw Alita sequel, Alita Army, and she was like, oh my gosh, so she tweeted it out. So fantastic. So anyways, I'm not going to cover all the other articles, but they're more of the same, getting more and more people looking at the fact that our fandom is so strong and that we have so many people supporting the movie. So of course, everyone's going to support us and say, hey, this was great, it was cute, good job, right? Not quite. Film Clickbait, which sounds like a great source, posts on Twitter and gets a ton of likes, 2,000. They paid to fly a banner over the ceremony. See photo 2. But didn't know that the red carpet, see photo 3, was covered due to rain. That last part isn't mentioned in the article. Well, first of all, when you plan something like this, you don't know if it's going to rain or not in a few weeks. Number one. Number two, the whole point of it was getting all the awareness that we got anyways. You didn't have to see it from the red carpet. We got a ton of people to view this also. So this kind of snarky response is really not that helpful. We point out dumb headlines and stories. Well, this is really not a dumb headline or story. We got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to hear about Alita, getting exactly what our point was across. So this sort of thing, not very helpful. Now, in the comments, some people were asking why did Alita Army do this? And someone said it doesn't explain why. And a certain individual, which I guess this is what I'm supposed to do, just blocking out the names, said it's an anti-Captain Marvel thing. Basically, they decided Captain Marvel is blah, 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 and Alita is great, blah, blah, blah. So this is ridiculous. I mean, the fact that even now, a year later, they're still going after the whole Captain Marvel Alita thing is so not helpful. And this is why I fought against this trope so much in the beginning, because I knew this was going to happen, where people are going to say that we're just here in this for the Captain Marvel thing, which is not true at all. And unfortunately, this is actually a person that works for a publication. They did have one of the articles covering the banner, but it's really bad that a year later, this is still the thought process for some of these people who are in the media. They have not done their research, and they still think this is a Captain Marvel thing, which is so far from the truth. We wouldn't be making videos and talking about Alita and tweeting and doing all of this a year later if you're against something. We are for Alita, and that's what everyone who's still in this fight is, for Alita. So Vladdy was trying to argue against this narrative, and this person, this media person, again replied, right, putting all these articles from videos made from Alita versus Captain Marvel from around the time the movie came out. And the thing is, if you actually look into it, most of these websites, and I can't say I've checked, but I think they've really moved on from this. And how many Alita videos have they done since that time? I think this was a little blip. So I would say they're not necessarily still supporting Alita now. And of course, we want all the Alita support we can get, but this actually really hurt Alita getting this narrative going, because there's no comparison needed. This is just a wonderful movie that needs a sequel. And Captain Marvel, you can be a fan of it. I was okay with the movie. I wasn't a huge fan, but it's fine. You can be a fan of both. You can be a fan of one or the other. There's no reason they have to be a competition. So I hate that this has been brought up again, and this time by the media, which unfortunately did not do a good job educating themselves on what has happened since. With Dennis saying he was not impressed by the journalism and this guilt by association. Don't tell us we're responsible for others, essentially. And they have moved on, and so should the media. And I really don't know if this has helped. Maybe talking to them directly like this, showing them that we're still supporting Alita will help. But unfortunately, this trend is probably going to be always stuck with the movie, and it's not a positive for the fan base. But for people who are paying attention, we have moved on. And the fact that most of the media articles out there are supportive of Alita and our efforts is a good sign that we have really turned a corner, going in a path of just supporting Alita rather than dealing with all these issues that were there a year ago. So those are fights we're going to leave behind, and we're going to look forward. As this Cinema Blend article looks, with a 1-year anniversary of Alita, saying Alita 2, 7 things to keep in mind as we wait for sequel news. A year ago today, James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez's sci-fi epic, Alita Battle Angel, opened to eager audiences around the world. While it had a modest theatrical run, the lifespan has taken on its home video and cable release and sees its reputation grow. As a result, the sizable fandom continues waiting for a news of a sequel. And as Charlie Schmidt on Twitter keeps track of very nicely, the Alita searches have really gone up in the last little bit. So here was Alita in the past 30 days. And then we had a boost once it came out on HBO and the Oscars and all of our hashtag Alita sequel attempts. And you can see it's trending a lot higher since it's gotten on HBO. So the fact that the movie is now being shown, more people are seeing it, and there's a lot more buzz now than there used to be a month or two ago. The article continues, right now there's no announcement about Alita 2, and we're in a holding pattern, with John Lando telling the fans to let Disney know we want more. So Cinema Blend decided to look at this. Number 1, does Alita need a sequel? Want and needs are two different things, they say. On the one hand, if we only have one movie, it's still a breathtaking film. That said, the original intent was to set up 2 other films, with Cameron wanting to make a trilogy as he was developing the project alongside Avatar, which pretty much crosses into the need territory as there's more story already planned for the telling. The next point. The dedicated fan base is still clamoring for a sequel a year later. The internet has always had a sounding board for those passionate about various big-ticket fandoms like Star Wars and Star Trek. As of late, there's been some properties that rule the airway a little more often, and Alita is one of them. It's all thanks to the efforts of those who call themselves Alita Army. That is us and everyone here watching this video and on Twitter. Through campaigns, fundraising efforts, and even just flooding Twitter with reasons why Alita 2 needs to happen, these diehards have been pushing for a return to Iron City and whatever other locales await in the Alita universe. Knowing the persistence of such a fanbase can be quite tenacious, the longer it takes to hear an announcement, the more determined the Alita Army will be in their efforts. And that's correct, because we do not stand by in the presence of evil. Now, a problem is this Fox-Disney merger, which may have laid Alita a little bit less of a priority. In a galaxy that includes Disney's various live-action remakes and legacy sequels, animated upstarts, and uncertain future connected with Star Wars, it looks like Alita 2 will have to compete with a lot of other siblings for its day in the sun, which is a good point, especially with the news that the Planet of the Apes is getting a reboot again. So Disney's using this 20th Century Fox legacy and IPs to just remake movies over and over again. So they kind of want to do what's safe rather than take a risk. So that means Alita is potentially in tough, but we will continue to fight and we are not going to lose hope. We talked about this in a prior video. 20th Century Studios is probably only making about 5 or 6 projects a year, which also means there's a limited space for an Alita sequel. Then they talk about the Avatar sequels and the fact that Disney is going full force into Avatar with James Cameron undivided attention, so they might feel that there's too much of an overlap right now if it invests in both Avatar and Alita. But on the other hand, Disney can always use a fresh IP like Alita. This article talks about how having access to Alien, Planet of the Apes, and Alita will always be a good thing when looking at the scheduling holes. Well, we just heard Planet of the Apes, they are going to remake, so they're not going forward with the most recent Planet of the Apes trilogy. Then they talk about how Disney could use Alita in their Disney World and Disneyland parks, and then further issues about scheduling could delay Alita 2 even further. A source of concern is that if it gets the green light, all of them are going to have to clear their schedules, with Rosa doing Undone Season 2, Christoph Waltz doing a bunch of other projects, and Edward Norton schedule being a concern. The project might have a delay even once it's revealed. Timing is always an issue when making Alita 2 into a reality. The longer it takes to accept or reject the call could complicate matters. If this delay leads to a recast, there's going to be a lot of issues finding replacements, making all of this more shaky, so we definitely don't want that. And interestingly, and I think I agree with this, the performance of Avatar 2 could mean a lot for Alita. Perhaps the greatest worry Disney has before even thinking about Alita 2 is how Avatar 2 is going to do. With the massive bunch of money that they spend, I think it's $400 million, the follow-up to the 2009 movie. They're worried how this movie is going to respond to a sci-fi world, how the people are going to respond before looking at reviving another IP like Alita. So as Avatar was once the highest grossing movie of all time, this scenario is a double-edged sword looking at Avatar 2. If it succeeds, they might just want to park the money there. If it fails, it's going to perhaps do restructuring and damage control, which will make things even more complicated. So there's probably a lot going on behind the scenes, even with Avatar 2 in full swing and Star Wars scaling back. But overall, it's been a year since Alita came out. Hopefully it won't take too much longer for this beloved cyborg warrior to come back to a theater near you. If you're a fan, you're going to need to keep letting the world know you won't rest until a sequel is either approved or canceled. Even in the case of a rejection, there's a chance another studio could pick up the project if Cameron and Rodriguez are going to be motivated to push forward. For now, watch it on HBO. So great article here. Very fair and balanced, looking at all the different options and telling us essentially the same thing. Keep supporting Alita. So thank you, Mike Reyes, for a great article. And we are slowly picking up more and more supporters in the media, despite potential trolls here and there. We have a lot of people who see the efforts that we're putting and all of the things we're doing to try to make an Alita sequel happen, all from a positive fan base. And that includes the GoFundMe. After we raised money for a banner, we continued the fundraiser, trying to get enough money for giving an amputee a hand, and we have succeeded. $15,599 is the raised money right now. We were posting about it earlier today that essentially it's the last day, the fundraiser is going to close, and I think we had about $10,000, $12,000 raised at that time, and then within a few hours on this last day, we were at $15,359, and now at $15,599. So amazing work for Alita Army. 15,000 will be 13,000, which is the entire process of providing a complete hero arm, which is the prosthetic that Open Bionics makes. So we now have covered enough for a person to receive a bionic arm, an amputee, or someone born without an arm. And the 1810 was already paid for the plane, and then there was an additional fee for the GoFundMe and everything. So we now have enough raised to provide a child or adolescent or whoever with an arm through Open Bionics. So this is just amazing work showing how kind and good Alita Army is. We had a ton of people donating here just in the last few hours, in the last day, including someone with $9.99 and $19.99. So like $3,000, someone, anonymous donor, from the kindness of their heart. And all the 99s you see are for, Alita number 99. And people just keep bumping the number up so it ends up in 99. And we kind of been doing this for tweets too. When we get 99 likes, people start unliking certain tweets to keep it at 99. So definitely a fun little thing. And congrats to Alita Army for amazing work. And the support continues with Redbox asking, tell us your favorite movie, but only use a GIF. And someone asking, I liked Alita, what's with all these tweets? And Redbox replies, that's just because the Alita Army is strong, but an Alita sequel would also be awesome. So just fantastic for Redbox to tweet out about their support for an Alita sequel and Alita Army. Just fantastic. I love it. And then they reply, so no sequel, but Redbox says, you never know. Maybe the studio will pay attention if all the fans keep at it. So thanks, Redbox, you joining Wendy's on the Alita bandwagon, where Wendy's was saying, I would for sure watch a sequel. So great work by Alita Army. Continue to fight. We will continue to support Alita. We do not stand by in the presence of evil. This has been a great week with a great anniversary for Alita Battle Angel and success at the Oscars with the banner. Alita herself, Rosa noticing us, Landau, other actors, and everybody else being supportive of what we've done. I'll go through some of these other tweets looking at the Oscar plane and everything as it went live because this was just so fun. So here was Adam saying, there's a plane circling my neighborhood, towing a banner that demands a sequel to Alita. Fandom has jumped the shark. I mean, I can't fully disagree that we've jumped a little bit of a shark, but overall, with Alita Army being so kind, he even said, if this is a thing you love, don't take it too much to heart. I hope you get an Alita sequel. And of course, with our fan base being so positive, we are winning fans left and right. Here was Kat. There's a blanking Alita banner flying over LA during the ceremony. I wish I had their energy. So these are just random people sitting on the streets, walking around and just boom, Alita sequel banner. What in the world? What is that? So fun. So, the red carpet had a little shield on top or whatever, a little tent. Who cares? People saw it on the streets and so many people picked up on this. It was fantastic. Nitro Spider, how can a fan base be so dedicated and yet so untoxic? It's amazing. I still respect you, Alita Army. Fantastic. Tim Postins, someone high above the Oscars really wants an Alita sequel. Again, this is just people hanging out at the Oscars and boom, Alita sequel, Alita Army. This is exactly why we do it. Steven Santos, a plane flying circles over Hollywood right now, demanding a sequel to Alita Battle Angel. Again, people on the streets just picking it up, and this is, a writer-producer. He had 3,500 followers, and he got a ton of likes. So this is, probably, based on my tweets, at least 100,000 people saw this tweet because of our efforts. And then one of the blue check marks retweeted this, some personal news, again, Alita sequel, publicity, and he actually says, I haven't even seen Alita, I just want a sequel. So funny. I love it. Rick Savage tweeted and had a ton of pickup as well. I don't know what hashtag Alita sequel is, but they are out here in Hollywood. Another blue check mark. Funny that he noticed it too. And of course, the official @Alita Army on Twitter has been super helpful, jumping in these threads and just informing people about everything that we're doing here. North-South on Twitter, the Alita fans are legends for this. Alita sequel now, right now. Yes, Landau Cameron, right now, this moment. Drop everything and make the sequel. And a big shout out to Armand. He actually got a ton of this footage down in SoCal. So thanks to him for getting these fantastic shots, as well as other shots of the sequel flying. And he was the guy who actually, if I recall, also talked to Rosa Salazar, asking her for a shout out when she gave us the infamous "Buy Those Blu-rays, Baby" video. Yep, Armand 2.0. I knew it.
Hi, Alita Army. What's up, guys? Buy those Blu-rays, baby!
Always fun to watch. I think one of the biggest ones, though, was Jessica. She had almost 1,000 likes, and with her connections in the industry, a ton of followers, this was a really big one to get, because a lot of the articles started with her, so that was just great. This was the plane just circling around the Oscars, and we were really thankful to the pilot. This was the plane that he was flying, our little N4522Y, Dusty Crop Hopper. And we actually tipped him, the pilot, I want to say it was around 500. And he, replied to ST, I have to tell you something awesome like your fans did for us has never happened. We could not believe it. After operating in the business for 11 years, every Valentine's Day will remind us all of your kindness. So this was just fantastic. we're kind of making friends left and right, which is what this is all about. As Dr. Dyson Ito said to Alita, this body's just a shell. It's up to us to do what we can. It's not bad or good. That part is on us. So we want to be good because we don't stand by in the presence of evil. And as a fan base, I'm so proud of how we've been. So continue to fight and support, and we'll talk to you soon. God bless. Doc out.